I want to welcome you to the workshop on this collective action, GIFA Collective Action on Transformational Learning and Student Leadership, which we are holding for about 4 days. And I want to thank you all for committing time to this very, very important initiative for us here in Africa. I know it's a global one. I leave that to the players at that level. But for me, coming from this continent, is something I want to appreciate from GIFA, and also for finding it fit to ask a national university, University of Nairobi, to host this initiative. And I want to thank all of you who have come from the different universities in the continent, and those who are coming outside the continent, and those who put the thought process through at GIFA level. I believe Dr. Holderness will describe his team. I think the issue we are going to really focus on we started yesterday evening, so I keep talking of the 4 days, or on 4 days is very key. And for all of us who are in training, we know it's something we are grappling with. There is enormous pressure on us to deliver the graduate the employer is looking for, to be able to serve at the other level. But at the same time, there is an enormous pressure for us to admit large numbers into our universities in agriculture and other sectors. So those numbers, as much as we have the good knowledge, experience on how to deliver, many times we are overwhelmed by that. So you find even courses like agriculture, which have a heavy experiential learning component, gets compromised. And those are some of the issues we are going to focus our time here, the time you are in this campus, College of Agriculture and Veterinary Sciences, so that we can see them through. I think I'll leave the high table to deal with those issues. So without taking too much time, I'd like to welcome Professor Hutchinson to give us a few remarks in there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor. Good morning, everybody. Good morning once more. This morning, I think we are here to actually dialogue on a very serious issue, because as a university, I think you all know that the departments are actually the homes of all the academia. So with the responsibility of raising up graduates that are fit to deal with the developmental agenda in Africa lies on our laps. And therefore, in terms of moving forward, because if you look at the sector of agriculture, you realize that actually the youth are absent. You actually hear the voice of the private sector saying the graduates that are coming from universities are not fit for the sector. If you look at the sector again, you look at the value chain and you realize that the youth are absent at every node of the sector. Agriculture is no longer attractive to our youth. And therefore, the conversation around how we can close that gap and raise up graduates that are actually fit and are transformational in nature, this discussion could never have come at the right time. We've started a little bit of transformation, making our teaching and our learning a little bit responsive to the needs of the young people, but we are still a long way to go. And therefore, as a department, we are so excited that as we have qualified personnel, but we need a transformation agenda, and we think that this conversation is going to push to give us impetus, to give us encouragement to move the transformation agenda forward so that Africa may benefit from this agenda. And therefore, on behalf of the Department of Plant Science and Crop Protection, where, as Professor has said, we are the mother department, we're actually one of the oldest departments in the University of Nairobi, we are very glad to have you visit with us. And I don't know, maybe because I'm the first one to speak, maybe to yesterday you are also welcome, but may I add my voice to welcome you to Kenya. to welcome you to Nairobi, to welcome you to the department. And I hope your 4 days are going to be very productive, and we wait with anticipation to the outcome of this workshop, because I think it is going to be very beneficial for us as the transformation will start to happen at the grassroots, that's at the department. So may God bless you, even as you continue with your discussions, and we look forward to the outcome of the workshop. Thank you, and God bless you.
Can we be more wide awake and we clap? I know some of you arrived a little late. Sometimes that clapping itself keeps us glued together. I would like to call upon our dean to give his words.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. We are delighted as a faculty, the Faculty of Agriculture, to welcome you to the faculty. The principal will welcome you to the college. This is certainly a very, very happy moment for our faculty. It's probably the first international workshop that we have hosted this year. So it is historical. It's the second major meeting we are having in this particular room. So we now know why we opened this complex in January, specifically on January 30th. We would wish to see many more meetings of this nature in here. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic at the focus is very close to us, transformative learning and student leadership development. Chief guest, if you allow me, I can talk about what the university has done. It has developed a student mentorship program with the aim of nurturing holistic development of the students. It's a program that draws support from the alumni, support from the industry. Our chairman was hinted to the fact that the industry has been complaining. We would like to engage the industry in the baking of the cake so that when they complain thereafter, they'll be complaining not about the university, but they should be complaining about themselves not having contributed to the extent that they needed to contribute. The mentorship program is anchored on 4 pillars. The first one is academic progression as the main agenda for which students come into the university. The second one is creative and innovative thinking, which is part of the agenda of GIFA. And we have noticed that students get extremely excited whenever you talk about innovation. Whenever we invite a guest to talk about innovation, the students follow the guest to gain a little more about innovation. And some of them have come up with patentable innovations. Yes, those who remember, we have M-Fodder, a platform developed by a student. M-Fodder connects the fodder producers with the fodder consumers through text messages, and we are excited about that innovation from the faculty. The other pillar is about leadership and soft skills, the skills that people need to fit within the settings where people work. And also the fourth one being networking. We are training students to network with themselves, network with their relatives, network with the industry, etc. We are delighted to report that student-led activities or student-centered activities are the most exciting to the younger students. Whenever they conceive some idea and take it on to the final end, they are very excited. So we are moving towards a student-centered university, student-centered faculties, where students will drive the process as the experienced members of the community. We shall be guiding them as they read. So the students read, we, the lecturers, take the back seat to guide them through remote control, but they are the leaders. We recognize that the authentic leaders truly are the students in this community. I don't want to delve too much into that program, but it resonates very closely with what we are doing in transformative learning and leadership development. With those few remarks, may I hand over to Professor Mwangombe.
Thank you so much. Can we appreciate the Dean for the faculty? Thank you very much, Prof, for your remarks. I'll take this opportunity to ask Dr. Mark Holderness to take the floor before our principal, who is wearing another hat. So you'll be the last one to speak.
Thank you, Agnes, and Professor Kiyama, Professor Kimenjo, Professor Hutchinson, Professor Mwangombe. It's a real pleasure to be here at the University of Nairobi. And what we've just heard, I think, illustrates so well why this meeting is so important. That we're here not to change curricula, we're here to transform education. And there is a big difference in there. I was a little shocked waking up this morning and reading the news that a new UNESCO report shows that 88% of African children leave school without full ability to read. 88%. We've been talking for decades about education and its importance and how it is essential in development. And yet, our systems clearly are still not yet delivering to the scale they need. And when I look at the universities, I see such fantastic potential to change things. You, the young people particularly, are the leaders of tomorrow. We have to equip people to be able to fulfill that role in all aspects. And it's probably not a good thing to quote him here, but the former president of Tanzania, Nyerere, once said that those who are educated have a moral obligation to put back in society what they have benefited from. And how often do we forget that? That we think of education as an elite, as a means to personal gain, whereas in fact what we're talking about here is societal gain and the future of our communities themselves. And this is why GFAR is so deeply involved in this agenda of transformational learning, because we have to really take stock of what is broken about our systems and how do we improve our agriculture for tomorrow. We can all sit and complain that there's not enough money, there's not enough investment, there's not enough resources, but it's not going to fall from the trees. We have to get out there and generate it and show the value of what we do and the value here of higher education and its role in society. And that's really what we're about here. It's not about tinkering around the edges of curriculum reform. It's about fundamental change. And this is one of the 4 new pillars of GFAR, of the Global Forum on Agricultural Research and Innovation, that the steering committee has generated, and Agnes Mwangombe sits on our steering committee. And the leader of this area in the Secretariat is here, Iman Al-Kafas. Iman is a world expert on educational change and on transformational learning. She's led programs in Egypt that were seen as the best USAID projects in education in the world. And there are some really exciting ideas, and we're blessed also with having Amir here, who is the former higher education minister in Egypt. So there's a great knowledge there. And from the start in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, the next phase will be to take these same ideas into Near East and North Africa through the leadership of the people that are here. And then to the South Asia. So this is not just an African issue, this is a global issue. And we need to really bring this change about. I don't need to tell you as an audience why education is important. But this is not just a gathering of universities. This is a gathering of those who care about what universities are producing. So we have here the private sector represented. We have youth represented. We have the farmers represented. We have the clients, essentially, the customers of education, here to tell those of you who are in the universities what they need from you. And what do they feel is being delivered at the moment, and what needs to change to achieve a better future. So after 3 days here, as I said last night, we have 3 days to change the world. It's no small task, but it's doable. It's very doable. We just have to do it ourselves, not sit around and wait for someone else to come and do it. You're the agents of change. You're the ones who can set a new path. And so what, to me, success looks like out of 3 days of this meeting will not be, oh yes, we had a nice discussion about the problems of education. It'll be a solid plan that you have devised, that you own, you're committed to changing the way our education functions in Africa and the sort of processes that it is bringing, the sort of students it is creating, not just technically skilled, but as we saw, you may have seen in the primary school on the way into this building, it's about holistic education that brings the life skills, as we heard earlier from the university, that are actually able to really make a difference once people leave these walls and go out into society to really make a difference themselves. So let's center our thinking on the realities, particularly of rural development, the challenges faced by small farmers, particularly the resource-poor farmers. How is education, how is your training going to benefit the people who are left behind? We have now the Sustainable Development Goals, no one being left behind. Are we living up to that? Is what we produce from the universities actually going to make sure that no one is left behind? Are our young graduates going to come out filled with excitement about what they can contribute, not just what they can take in their future work? So that, I think, is our challenge, to really reshape in our own heads and in the heads of those we interact with. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Who are we doing it for? How can we make it better and more effective and really deliver the change that Africa is striving for and Africa is getting to? But we must make sure that in that process we give our children and their children a real future. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mark, for those wonderful words. But you'll bear with me. I skipped a regional partner who is so key. RUFORUM, represented here by, there's a team from RUFORUM, but Dr. Anthony Igeru will give some remarks on behalf of RUFORUM.
RUFORUM is a regional network of 66 universities now in 26 African countries. And at the founding of RUFORUM was a basic fundamental challenge that transforming Africa's agriculture requires innovative education, training, and learning approaches. And so universities need to shape up and catch with the challenge. RUFORUM started with intervening at that time in 2004 with the basic fundamental facet within the training of faculties at member universities, because there was a very high attrition rate, but also there was a very negligible number of faculty with PhDs. And so the first focus was intervening that you need to build a critical mass of PhDs within the faculty at the universities to ensure that they are able to train others. And gradually, as these became achieved, the network has expanded and handles a broader spectrum of issues. And we do not do this alone, we do this with partners. At the founding of RUFORUM were simply 10 member universities, 5 of which were in Kenya, and University of Nairobi was one of them. Today we are talking of 66 universities. It simply means there is something attractive in associating with RUFORUM. And with the new action, which is on transformative learning, and student leadership development from GIFA, it directly speaks to one of the fundamental goals of Roof Forum that Roof Forum implements, because we have 7 fundamental strategic goals upon which our programming is based. And this action feeds directly into the Vision 2030 that Roof Forum is working forward. It also speaks directly to the 10 heads of state summit convening, which is due to take place next year in February, which is an agenda for transforming higher Africa's education. And so some of the initiatives that are already beginning to shape are directly feeding into the continental initiatives and the focus of our leaders at the Africa level. It therefore speaks directly to contributing to Africa's Agenda 2063. So this initiative, which is beginning now, and which you are part of, and which we need to look forward in the next 10, 15, 20 years, that we should be proud that we started an initiative that is contributing fundamentally to the transformation of how our education institutions train, graduate, but place students in the world of work. It is our sincere hope as Roof Forum that this initiative does not stay in this room, but it gets actualized. Because as Roof Forum, we pride ourselves in starting an initiative and making it work. At the founding of Roof Forum was a basic message to the founders, to the 10 universities, 5 of which were in Kenya. We do not need failures in Africa, because Africa has been known for failing initiatives. As Roof Forum, we have kept the banner saying we do not need to see initiatives that fail. We need initiatives that work. And those that have associated closely with Roof Forum know that we put our foot on the ground to deliver program activities, to deliver program agreements, and ensure that we achieve the realities. And so we work with the universities to innovate around these processes. We shall continue to work with our partners to deliver. We shall continue to work with farmer communities that we work for and that associate with us. We shall continue to engage with the private sector. We shall continue to engage with the policy and decision leaders to see to it that our transformative agenda does not get lost. It should keep on the book. It should keep on the table, and we should continue to discuss it and engage. Professor Hutchinson has already committed deliberately and strategically to ensure that as the parent department that is hosting us, they are going to begin implementing the activities and declarations. So ladies and gentlemen, with those very many words, allow me to thank you for listening. And I do believe that all the voices that are represented here will definitely provide their direction and perspectives for which we shall coalesce around them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, I do wish to take an opportunity to invite our last speaker in this session, who is our principal, but wearing another hat, representing our Vice Chancellor, Professor Peter Mbindi, who was not able to be here with us. But maybe before you speak, I would like just to let you know who is here, the representation. We are at GIFA Regional NAS. So we have representation, global, GIFA team. I'm not asking you to stand, so just follow my instructions. GIFA team, but I would also like to include our facilitator who has come from very far, all the way from Canada, our main facilitator, to be here with us. For there you have already started interacting with him. Then we have our regional partners who are here, and the representation has been Roof Forum, who has just talked. Then we have our continental team made up of universities scattered around the continent. And I want to thank GIFA for that input, because if we went by the Roof Forum membership, we'd have left some parts of Africa not covered. So I really appreciate that input. And in there, we have, we should have in our team at that university level, we have a vice chancellor. We also have deans and other colleagues from the universities. Then we have farmer organizations represented here, continental as well as East Africa level. Then we have our farmers, because as we have said, we can't do this without having the partnerships aligned. We have also farmer representing the other farmers here. Then this business we are talking about, it affects directly the students. So my students who are here, remember you are doing the work to benefit you, maybe partly. Your decisions are there on Friday, or to benefit your sisters and brothers who will be joining. Then we have development partners with us represented by IDRC and AGRA. So that's the whole team we have here with us. And I think when we go out for tea, you'll interact further and know each other. But I've given you a flavor on who is in the room here this morning. So Professor Kiama, I wish to request you to take the floor and address us and also declare our workshop officially open.
Thank you, Prof. I want to begin, obviously, by recognizing all those that she has mentioned. I note that they are all high-profile guests who have gathered here at the University of Nairobi, including Mark Hodanes. Before I read his speech, I think there are certain things that were mentioned by Mark here, which are very important. I just wanted to really make this your message, just by re-emphasizing the same, that this is a gathering of those who care. That was one of the things he said, that this is a gathering of those who care. And I think even as you leave this place, you should consider yourself as one of those who care about our education. And he just quoted some statistics, which is a bit scary. I will actually go and try to read it myself and try to find out more. How come that you can have 88% of our children leaving school without knowing how to read? And I thought for a long time, those were the basic skills, reading and comprehension, yeah, and speaking. Those are some of the skills that you are taught to be, you are supposed to be taught in high school, in a basic education. If that is not happening, then it is really a shocker to all of us, an awakening. But even concerning the training that we do in agriculture, our students, probably there are other more shocking things we can say. And that is why all of you are gathered here, you who care, to try to look for these solutions. And therefore, it is so that you are able to create that curriculum or that program that will be able to transform our students. When they enter in the beginning, in the first year, and they leave in the fourth year, they leave transformed. They are changed to become the change agents. And you know, a society is considered to have evolved, to have been civilized, when it is able to take care of its weak ones. Because you know, when you have the uncivilized world, the survival for the fittest, yeah? We are here as those who care. And it is because we have this desire to ensure that we transform our students to become change agents. And when they go out, they empower communities so that no one is left behind. So I think that should be the rallying call of the entire conference. Yeah, that's what I wanted to call upon everybody. Professor Mwangombe, as you are making the declaration, the Nairobi Declaration, that this, who was the secretariat, becomes part of that language, yeah? That this was a gathering of those who care. Now, I want to go straight now to read the Vice Chancellor's address. Dr. Mark Hodanes, Executive Secretary, Global Forum on Agriculture Research. Professor Ezat Sarama, the former Egyptian Minister for Higher Education, Science Research in Egypt. And Professor Sandy Dowa Ekaote Lale, Vice Chancellor, University of Port Harcourt. Other guests presented here, members of the university community, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the University of Nairobi to participate in this important meeting and to contribute to ways of how to improve our curricula and the extracurricular training here and the universities in training in agriculture to produce market-ready graduates in agriculture and the related sciences. I note that this workshop has been organized by the Global Forum on Agricultural Research, represented here by the Executive Director, GIVA, and is based in Rome. The Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture, RUFORUM, which many of our faculties here in agriculture and the universities training agriculture are members, and the University of Nairobi, which is facilitated by the CD Enterprise Management Institute under Professor Mwang'ombe. This is a welcome partnership arrangement to tackle a global challenge which creates impacts at regional and the national levels. The workshop is focusing on one of the key GIVA local objectives, that is strengthening organizational and individual capacities. At Africa-wide level, universities have the task to produce relevant graduates in all fields so as to respond effectively to the current global, regional, and the national challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, agriculture is a key sector for most economies in Africa. The growth of the economy is very much dependent on the performance of agriculture. That is the growth of their economies. Agriculture is a major employer, as you know, from the primary production level and all along the value chain up to the consumer level. In Kenya, agriculture directly contributes 30% of the gross domestic product and 26% through other sectors in manufacturing and distribution. As you are aware, the continent is still faced with the challenges of feeding the growing population and how to deal with the ballooning youth unemployment. How can the large parcel of valuable land, be properly utilized to provide the necessary solution to some of these challenges? The agriculture faculties can address some of these issues. It is ironical that despite agriculture being the sector with the first opportunities for development and prosperity, the youth in Africa are shunning agriculture. And even when admitted into agricultural degree programs, upon graduation, most of them still look for jobs in other sectors. That in itself presents a serious development challenge which needs to be tackled expeditiously. The biggest challenge for the youth is unemployment. The youth population in Africa is growing fast, with about 60% of Africans being between 16 and 24 years of age, yet they hardly appreciate agriculture as a profitable opportunity. Furthermore, it is difficult for the youth to engage in commercial agriculture because majority have no title deeds and limited access to credits. And many of you who visit the rural areas know that even they don't have money to buy the land, and even those who own the land are not releasing the land to them, and all this. So there is a bit complication out there. Like I come from a coffee growing area, and you find coffee production going down, and the youth are not released to do it. There is need to change the mindset of the youth to look at agriculture as a business. Education services have expanded considerably in Africa, but they offer insufficient skills, and that's why you're here. that match with employment opportunities in rural areas. This has resulted in mass production of graduates that are ill-equipped to be absorbed into market, yet there exist abundant opportunities in agribusiness and in small and medium-scale enterprises. However, improved technologies, practical skills, fair markets, as well as other logistics and services have made agriculture a world venture to consider. The African must seize the moment and create wealth in the agribusiness value chains. Ladies and gentlemen, there is considerable changes in agriculture and its produce value chains as witnessed locally and globally. The graduate with production or processing knowledge alone will not fit in the current and future job markets, as other skill sets, including leadership and managerial skills, are being demanded by employers handling either local and international markets. These new demands are influencing the characteristics of the current agricultural activities, and this will also determine the future of agriculture and the allied sectors. At the moment, the key drivers of these changes include trade, liberalization, and globalization, urbanization, technological developments, changing consumer tastes and behavior, environmental considerations, climate change, and the shift in market power to large players in processing and distribution and the retailing in particular. Most curricula in agriculture education are focused on enhancing production to sustain a growing and increasingly urban and industrial population. However, it is important to note that in Africa, where primary agriculture is controlled by small-scale farmers, small agripreneurs have a major role to play to spur the agricultural sector. Consequently, the graduate should not only be competent in the primary production of agriculture, but also have other knowledge along the value chain, such as distribution, processing, promotion, and consumer satisfaction. The new graduate should not just be knowledgeable in production agriculture, like I have said before, but also understand food value, including nutrition management and natural resources for agricultural sustainability, and the know-how to maintain and improve the physical and scientific infrastructure that underlies modern agriculture, without forgetting the role of information and communication technology in agriculture. Other necessary competencies include leadership and entrepreneurship. And Professor Kimejo has just mentioned one of the things of agriculture that ICT can play. And obviously there are many others, like including the aggregation of the various crops, can be guided through that. Ladies and gentlemen, on the account of this, University of Nairobi offers professional mentorship, and this was mentioned before, and extracurricular activities. Despite these efforts, not all students actively participate, and therefore, this discussion needs to delve deeper into finding ways on how the outcome of this workshop will inform curricular reform while incorporating leadership elements without overburdening the learner. Because, in many cases, whenever we talk about reviewing our curriculum, we add the other courses. And the professors say, this course you cannot touch, this one you cannot touch, this one you cannot touch. So the dean now adds others. Finally now, the curriculum becomes worse than it was before. So it calls us to become more innovative, and we think differently. Because if you do one thing the same way all the time, you get the same results. So this time, this gathering of those who care, I believe we'll come up with a different strategy of doing that. Another key focus for learning in our university is the incorporation of experiential learning through field visits, industrial attachments, and the internship in the delivery of course content. However, the major challenge has been lack of adequate facilities, equipment, and host institutions to offer internship opportunities. This workshop presents a platform which will enrich the expected outputs. For instance, a note, and Professor Mwangobe has highlighted all the people presented here. I note that the past month includes academic staff members, including the deans and head of department, which are key in initiating curricula and reviewing existing curricula for a given degree program. The presence of students is crucial as they are the recipients of agriculture curriculum, and will provide crucial insights and feedbacks that may help us as we move on. The private sector represented will help define the type of graduate needed as we profile that graduate, who are the kind of graduate they are looking forward to. They will get an opportunity to understand the challenges universities face also in securing internship opportunities for the student or new graduates. The farmer or any other agricultural value chain player can contribute toward noted knowledge and skills gaps. And this gives the universities an opportunity to start responding towards the demands for market-ready agriculture graduates. The development partners represented here by AGRA and IDRC, just to name but a few, are crucial in providing the necessary support we need to delve on our key mandate of capacity building. What is clear in organizing this workshop is that one player cannot deliver the necessary solutions in agriculture as articulated at the Sustainable Development Goals, African Agenda 2063, and national visions. We need all of us. Instead, it requires enabling partnership arrangements that GIVA has provided so as to be able to tackle the challenges of food and nutrition insecurity and unemployment of the youth as well as women. I wish you all very fruitful deliberations during the workshop, and I look forward to receiving the outcome of this workshop. I now declare this workshop officially open.
Thank you, our Vice Chancellor. Once that one is done, I have no more remarks other than the next remarks I'll make in our next session. Thank you so much. And now we are invited to go and take an official photo.